Few highlights for this deployment. This is deployed in AWS Fargate cluster, multi-AC deployment. Fargate, this goes serverless. You don't need to manage any EC2 nodes for this one. And this is an RDS Postgres installation, again a multi-AC deployment with the database encrypted. All your metrics and all your Light LLM data goes into this RDS database, and an elastic cache is provisioned for high availability and rate limiting and caching. A load balancer which is provisioned in the public subnet, which acts as your interface for all the API calls to Light LLM, and also for your accessing your web UI for Light LLM. And all these are provisioned using Terraform, all automated and infrastructure as a code. This follows a security first architecture. Zero secrets sits in your disk, which means that all the secrets are stored in AWS Secret Manager, and a private subnet design where only your application load balancer sits in your public subnet, and your ECS cluster, which is hosting your Fargate Light LLM proxy, sits in private subnet. And also there is a dedicated data subnet created for your database instances and your Redis instances. And least privilege IAM access has been provisioned, which means that only necessary permissions are given for your IAM roles to access your secrets and also the other services. And encryption enabled at rest and transit, and also TLS 1.3 has been enabled for your services like RDS and Redis. An advantage having Light LLM as your proxy is there is a single API interface from your code base. You can call multiple LLM providers like Grok, Anthropic, OpenAI, or even Bedrock or Azure AI. And you don't need to change your code. You can define your LLM configs inside your config.YML, and then you will be able to have a load balancing, routing, everything enabled, even including a semantic routing. And EC provider swapping, in case if you wanted to swap between multiple LLM providers, you don't need to do a lot of these code changes. Instead, what you can do is you can just go and update your config.YML, and it will automatically change your configurations. And there is a clear benefit in terms of the cost optimization. If you are somebody who is managing your AI infrastructure where you have zero visibility into who is spending what, then this solution, the Light LLM based solution, gives you a clear advantage in terms of defining budget for each and every team, each and every customer. And also you will be able to have a spend tracker in which you can track who is spending most amount of tokens in terms of your AI usage. And you will be able to have a split in terms of which model is giving you a lot of cost benefits, and also which LLM is taking a lot of cost from your AI budget. And along with this set of features, I have enabled observability features like a CloudWatch dashboard, which gives you all the CloudWatch logs and metrics related to your Light LLM. Critical alarms defined for CPU memory, 5xx errors and latency. There is an SNS integration where you will be able to plug your CloudWatch alerts and SNS so that you can get your alert directly into your PagerDuty and Slack. There is X-ray tracing enabled for you to have a deeper troubleshooting and analysis for logs and metrics. Right. So let's dive deep into the AWS architecture created for this AWS deployment of Light LLM. At the top of the layer, this is where your customer API consumers front-end UI will be accessed from internet, and this goes directly into the internet and edge layer of your AWS account. And this layer is where we are hosting components like CloudFront, which is your CDN, edge caching, and preventing you from DDoS protections. And everybody is accessing your endpoint via a Route 53 DNS. In our case, it is LiteLLM.SlashLLM.com, and that's where users are coming and hitting your traffic. And there is a WAF plus shield provision for advanced rate limiting, SQL injection protection, and geo blocking protection enabled. And here we have enabled as a common security practice. TLS is then enabled end-to-end with ALB, and also security groups has been provisioned at every AWS component to have least privileged on inbound rules. So after this particular layer, Route 53 is routing traffic directly in a load balancer. And this load balancer is what receiving the traffic which is provisioned in your public subnet. In that public subnet, we already have a gateway and internet gateway provisioned along with your Terraform code. And what happens is the load balancer is again receiving traffic in the public internet and routing the traffic back to your private subnet. The private subnet is actually hosting an ECS Fargate cluster, and a Fargate cluster have a Light LLM proxy deployed, and it is internally spinning up multiple Fargate tasks, which is spread across multiple availability zones, which ensures that there is a high availability enabled for your Light LLM UI and also for all the API calls, which makes the system much reliable for especially if your application is having a critical AI requirement. You cannot afford to have downtime for your AI calls. This setups is suitable for you. And zero downtime deployment enabled and blue-green deployment enabled for your Light LLM proxy, which ensures that at any point in time your Light LLM proxy will not be down. And in the along with the private subnet, there is a dedicated data layer, which is also a kind of a private subnet where we are segregating for your RDS Postgres and your Elasticache Redis deployment. Both are multi-AZ, and the instances sizes are customizable. We can change to any instance size based on your requirement. Below that, there is a layer where you will be having all your AWS services which is supporting the whole integration. One is definitely AWS CloudWatch, where you have all your logs and metrics enabled. IAM roles for your ECS task, which least privilege, and AWS Secret Manager. This is the place where you will store all your secrets, including your database passwords, your Light LLM salt keys, secret keys, everything. And you have ECR, that's where you host your Light LLM Docker image. And AWS X-Ray for distributor tracing, KMS for encryption keys for both your RDS and the secret, which is used in the secret manager. And S3 bucket, that's where you host your Light LLM config file. And a VPC endpoint has been provisioned for S3 and CloudWatch, so that you will be able to send these traffic securely via this particular interface. And yes, of course, I'm just highlighting that this is a multi-AZ deployment. Right now, the code supports 3 AZs. You can customize it accordingly for your deployment. If you wanted to have a multi-AZ for just only for 2 AZs, you can do it. And this is where you go and access all your LLM providers, external LLM providers, go via the NAT gateway, and